Wall Street to State Street, the final word on today's numbers and all the day's business news. This is Business Day, brought to you by Comcast Business Class.
We are
another insurer.
And we'll see how this all works out. Peter Howden, I thank you.
And coming up next on Business Day, measuring tiny responses. Vests and headbands can tell advertisers a lot about products. And embryonic stem cell research, the first human...
Beach.com. You're watching Business Day.
New technologies being developed right here in New England are helping advertising companies better target viewers by monitoring their physical and biological reactions to commercials and other media. Mass High Tech editor Doug Banks joins us now with the details. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Beth.
Thank you for joining us. This is a fascinating story. Give us the gist of this technology and how it's different than just a regular focus group to talk about different products and advertisements.
Right. So as you may or may not know, advertising executives for years have used focus groups to determine which ads are more effective, how viewers will react to them. And those are all well and good, but what they've discovered over the years is that self-reporting, or viewers telling you how they feel about things, even if it's with a clicker button or something that's immediate, is not always the most accurate. Whereas their biological responses to things, say the way their skin temperature or their heart rate, will be a much better barometer for an advertising executive to see how they're reacting to something minute by minute, second by second.
This is measured using various gizmos and devices that these companies have developed: a vest, a chest strap, a headband. Tell us how exactly this works.
Well, there's two local companies that we found that are doing this, Innerscope and One-to-One Interactive. One is focused mostly on TV, and I can get into that in a minute, and then one is focused more on online video. They've created this vest, and they can also use a headband or a chest strap to measure things like skin temperature, heart rate, the rate of breathing, as well as things like their posture. So they have accelerometers or gyroscopes that can tell whether you're leaning forward. There's a phrase that says the viewers are sitting at the edge of their seat. Well, that's actually there's a really reason for that, and if you're engaged, it means you're leaning forward, and if you're shying away, you're a little bit nervous maybe, and it's to be determined whether or not those reactions equal whether or not they're really engaged, or whether they're afraid, or whether they're going to buy the product. But more data is better, particularly in TV advertising, where there's so many metrics that ad executives are already using. This is just one more tool for the tool belt.
So you mentioned Innerscope, one of the companies focusing on Super Bowl ads, and they did this last year as well. What did they find?
Exactly. Well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to show that this thing works. So they have a vest, and they have about 30 people that get together in a room to watch the Super Bowl. They then measure the responses of every single Super Bowl ad, and they post the results. They said Innerscope had decided last year what was the most effective, engaged ad, the one that people were really reacted to the strongest and were most interested in. And so then they came out and said what that ad was. Well, when MySpace came out later and posted all of the Super Bowl ads for people to respond to, view, download, comment on, Innerscope said that they were more accurate than USA Today, more accurate than other neuroscience, neurological response companies, and they picked the ad that MySpace did. They had more comments on that ad, they had more downloads, so they're using the Super Bowl again next week to see if they can get that same result, and if they can, they have a pretty good argument, they think, for going to ad executives and explaining why their technology is so useful. And
there's potential here beyond just television, right?
Right. Well, I think what's most interesting is the online advertising and video space, whereas TV is by far the biggest. I mean, we're talking $65 billion in spending this year for that. There's $850 million dollars projected to be spent on online ads. That's 45% growth over last year. Now, it's not as much, but there's all kinds of online ads. There's the kinds that show up before, the pre-roll, there's the post-roll, and people are still, Google and the other companies, they have no idea what's most effective. It's Wild West out there. So a technology like this, and One-to-One is going after that market, that could be really interesting. I'm interested to see how that works.
All right, Mass High Tech editor Doug Banks, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You can read this full story on biometric testing. It's in the latest edition of Mass High Tech, the Journal of New England Technology.